Women's magazines are relatively new to Morocco, but are evolving rapidly, and JN1 sat down with both a fashion journalist and a makeup artist to discuss the latest trends as they are happening in Morocco. Fashion, film and advertising in Morocco are booming markets that have catapulted into the limelight in the last decade with an explosion of women's magazines. Many attribute the rise of women's magazines and the advertising industry to the numerous international brands and franchises that have launched their products in Morocco in recent years. Established makeup artist Abi Yassoro as well as fashion journalist Mouna Belgrini sat down with JN1 to explain the new advent of women's magazines in Morocco as well as the new demand for fashion professionals to create the desirable looks needed for fashion spreads and advertisements.
So when I arrived in Morocco 7 years ago, there were not a lot of women's magazines. But as the years went by, everyone witnessed a real explosion on the scene. Even today, there are new magazines starting up. Morocco is a country that is really developing in the world of fashion, and the country has a real influence in today's trends.
First, the two first magazines that we had for women were created in 1995. There was a fashion part, but that was not the main purpose of the magazines. But what happened is that by the end of the 90s, I think 99 or something, the big clothing brands started coming to Morocco and having stores. And I think that's what made the huge change, because magazines commercial opportunity. And I think that really changed the whole picture of magazines in Morocco, because that started to be not the most important, but a very big part of a women magazine.
Fashion spreads and advertisements are key elements to the Moroccan women's magazines, but for a makeup artist, these two domains require completely different professional approaches.
Advertising is a completely different field of fashion. Usually when you are shooting for advertising, we are asked to do very specific things, normally quite natural things. On the other hand, for fashion, we really delve into our artistic side and have the freedom to be able to do what we want. We will be able to go a little further than we can with advertising.
Women's magazines in Morocco are divided into two categories that include the Arabic language magazines that display Moroccan kaftans and Middle Eastern designs, and the French language women's magazines that showcase European high fashion and style.
The thing with Morocco is that we have two kind of fashions. There's the traditional fashion, like kaftans and traditional dresses, and then there's the international fashion. And it really depends on the spirit that you want to have. Let's say you want to have a Frenchy looking photo shoot. Sometimes you have to call makeup artists and hair artists that master this kind of spirit.
Makeup styles differ greatly in Moroccan magazines, from a minimalist approach to a more dramatic look that is commonly associated with Oriental style and fashion.
The makeup in countries like Lebanon and Oriental culture would be totally different than makeup in, let's say, Paris or London. And the spirit is totally different, both in fashion and in makeup, and in style actually. The Oriental way of putting on makeup would be more show off. I don't know if you check Lebanese singers, for example, the makeup would be really huge, big eyes, a lot of kohl, that's the black pencil. It's that's how I would explain it. It's like the woman has so much to prove that she would use makeup as a way of basically speaking.
Although Morocco is heavily influenced by Oriental style, there is a growing trend in recent years for women to apply a more subtle and natural-looking makeup.
Moroccan makeup, when you are working with individuals, is a very traditional style of makeup. But this is something where we are really going to start seeing changes. Moroccan women are really looking for more natural, more modern and less traditional makeup, in fact.
The women's magazine industry has both influenced the makeup and fashion styles of the general Moroccan population, as well as created a demand for professionals in a variety of sectors. For JN1, this is Michelle Medina reporting from Casablanca.